Tupac Shakur. On September 13, 1996, 25-year-old Tupac Shakur died at University Medical Center in Las Vegas. 6 days earlier, Tupac had attended a Mike Tyson boxing match at the MGM Grand. After the fight, Tupac was riding in the passenger seat of Suge Knight's black BMW 750IL down the Las Vegas Strip. At 11:15 p.m., the BMW stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road. The street was crowded with tourists and lit by massive neon casino signs. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside the BMW on the passenger side. Someone in the Cadillac opened fire with a .40 caliber Glock pistol, shooting 14 times. 4 bullets struck Tupac in the chest, arm, and thigh. Suge Knight was grazed by shrapnel but not seriously injured. Tupac was rushed to University Medical Center, where he underwent multiple surgeries. He survived for 6 days before dying from respiratory failure and cardiac arrest. The shooting occurred on one of the most famous well-lit streets in the world, surrounded by witnesses. Despite this, Tupac's murder remained officially unsolved. For nearly 30 years, the image of the white Cadillac vanishing into the Vegas neon became one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries. The Notorious B.I.G. On March 9, 1997, 24-year-old Christopher Wallace, known as the Notorious B.I.G., or Biggie Smalls, died in Los Angeles. Biggie had been in Los Angeles for a week, attending parties and promoting his upcoming album. On March 8, he attended a Soul Train Music Awards after-party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. After midnight, Biggie left the party in a GMC Suburban. His SUV stopped at a red light at the intersection of Wilshire Boulevard and South Fairfax Avenue. A dark Chevrolet Impala SS pulled up alongside Biggie's vehicle. The driver of the Impala drew a 9mm pistol and fired multiple shots into the Suburban. 4 bullets struck Biggie. As the shooting occurred, Biggie's own hit song, Hypnotize, was reportedly playing from the car's speakers. Biggie was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. He was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. from his gunshot wounds. The man who'd rapped an entire album called Ready to Die was killed just 6 months after his rival Tupac. Biggie's murder also remains officially unsolved. The deaths of hip-hop's 2 biggest stars within months created conspiracy theories that persist decades later. Eazy-E. On March 26, 1995, 30-year-old Eric Wright, known as Eazy-E, died at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Eazy-E was the godfather of gangsta rap and founder of Ruthless Records. In February 1995, Eazy-E went to the hospital believing he had severe asthma or bronchitis. Doctors ran tests and delivered shocking news. Eazy-E was diagnosed with AIDS. The diagnosis was devastating and completely unexpected. Eazy-E had shown no obvious symptoms until his sudden hospitalization. The disease progressed with terrifying speed. In less than 1 month, Eazy-E went from a seemingly healthy rap mogul to dead. He deteriorated rapidly as the AIDS ravaged his immune system. Eazy-E died just 31 days after his diagnosis. His death shocked the hip-hop community and served as the first major wake-up call about the hep/AIDS epidemic in rap culture. The speed of his decline from diagnosis to death stunned everyone who knew him. Juice WRLD. On December 8, 2019, 21-year-old Gerard Higgins, known as Juice WRLD, died at a Chicago hospital. Juice WRLD had flown from Los Angeles to Chicago on a private jet. When the plane landed at Midway International Airport, federal agents were waiting to search it for weapons and drugs. As agents boarded the plane, Juice WRLD allegedly began swallowing multiple Percocet pills in a panic to hide evidence. Shortly after, he suffered a massive seizure. Paramedics administered Narcan, a medication that reverses opioid overdoses, but Juice WRLD remained unconscious. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The official cause of death was accidental overdose from oxycodone and codeine toxicity. The dark irony wasn't lost on fans. In his song Legends, Juice WRLD had rapped, "What's the 27 Club? We ain't making it past 21." He died exactly 6 days after his 21st birthday. Juice WRLD's prophetic lyrics about dying young came true in the cruelest way. Nipsey Hussle. On March 31, 2019, 33-year-old Ermias Asghedom, known as Nipsey Hussle, died outside his clothing store in Los Angeles. Nipsey was standing in the parking lot of the Marathon Clothing, his store in South Los Angeles. He'd built the business as part of his mission to invest in and uplift his community. Eric Holder, a man Nipsey actually knew, approached him in the parking lot. After a brief conversation, Holder left and returned minutes later with a handgun. Holder opened fire on Nipsey at point-blank range. Nipsey was shot at least 10 times. He was rushed to a hospital but died from his gunshot wounds. The tragedy was particularly painful because Nipsey had been killed right in front of the business he'd built to save his neighborhood. Nipsey Hussle had dedicated himself to buying back the block and creating opportunities in South LA. He was murdered in the parking lot of his own store by someone from his own community. The safe space he'd tried to create became the site of his death. Pop Smoke. On February 19, 2020, 20-year-old Bashar Jackson, known as Pop Smoke, died during a home invasion in Los Angeles. Pop Smoke was staying in a rented mansion in the Hollywood Hills. Hours before his death, he posted photos on Instagram showing gift bags he'd received from a fashion brand. One of the gift bags in the photo clearly showed the full address of the house where he was staying. Robbers used the Instagram post to track Pop Smoke's exact location. Around 4:30 a.m., Multiple suspects broke into the house. During the home invasion, Pop Smoke was shot multiple times. He was transported to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The rising Brooklyn drill rapper had accidentally revealed his location to his killers through social media. Pop Smoke died because of an Instagram post. The address visible on a gift bag led armed robbers directly to him. He was killed for his jewelry at age 20, just as his career was exploding. XXXTentacion. On June 18, 2018, 20-year-old Jose Anfroy, known as XXXTentacion, died in Deerfield Beach, Florida. XXXTentacion was leaving Riva Motorsports, a motorcycle dealership, after shopping for motorcycles. As he sat in his BMW i8 in the parking lot, an SUV blocked his path. Two armed men jumped out and approached XXXTentacion's car. They demanded a Louis Vuitton bag containing $50,000 in cash that was visible in the vehicle. During the robbery, one of the men shot XXXTentacion in the neck. The robbers fled with the bag of money. XXXTentacion was rushed to a hospital, but was pronounced dead from his gunshot wound. The entire brutal incident was captured on high-definition surveillance cameras from multiple angles. XXXTentacion died for a designer bag full of cash. The 20-year-old artist was shot in broad daylight in a shopping center parking lot. His murder was caught on camera, showing the world exactly how he died. Mac Miller. On September 7, 2018, 26-year-old Malcolm McCormick, known as Mac Miller, died at his Studio City home in Los Angeles. Mac Miller was found unresponsive in his bedroom. Paramedics were called, but Mac Miller was pronounced dead at the scene. The toxicology report revealed Mac Miller had died from an accidental drug overdose. His system contained fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol. Mac Miller had believed he was taking legitimate oxycodone pills purchased from a dealer. However, the pills were counterfeit and laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid 50 times more powerful than heroin. Mac Miller had no idea the pills contained the deadly substance. A single batch of fake pills killed him. 3 people were later arrested and charged with supplying the counterfeit drugs that killed Mac Miller. The Pittsburgh rapper died because he took what he thought were legitimate prescription pills that turned out to be deadly counterfeits. Prodigy. On June 20, 2017, 42-year-old Albert Johnson, known as Prodigy of Mobb Deep, died in Las Vegas. Prodigy had battled sickle cell anemia his entire life. On June 20th, he was hospitalized in Las Vegas for complications related to the disease. While in the hospital recovering from a sickle cell crisis, Prodigy ate breakfast in his hospital bed. According to reports, he choked on an egg while eating. Despite being in a hospital with medical staff nearby, Prodigy could not be saved. Prodigy died from choking on food in his hospital bed. After surviving the dangerous streets of Queensbridge, New York, and multiple close calls throughout his life, Prodigy died from a mundane breakfast accident. The irony of his death wasn't lost on hip-hop fans. The legendary Mobb Deep rapper who'd rapped about street violence for decades died choking on an egg in a Las Vegas hospital. Prodigy was 42 years old. Old Dirty Bastard. On November 13, 2004, 35-year-old Russell Jones, known as Old Dirty Bastard or ODB, died in a Manhattan recording studio. ODB was the wildest, most unpredictable member of the Wu-Tang Clan. On November 13th, he was working in a recording studio in New York. ODB complained of chest pains while in the studio. Shortly after drinking a soda, he collapsed on the studio floor. Emergency services were called, but ODB was pronounced dead at the scene. An autopsy revealed a lethal combination of cocaine and tramadol in his system. The mixture of drugs caused his heart to fail. ODB died just 2 days before what would have been his 36th birthday. Old Dirty Bastard collapsed and died on a recording studio floor in Manhattan. The Wu-Tang legend who'd survived years of erratic behavior and drug use finally succumbed to an overdose at 35. Takeoff. On November 1, 2022, 28-year-old Kershnik Ball, known as Takeoff of Migos, died in Houston. Takeoff was attending a private party at a bowling alley in Houston. Around 2:30 a.m., an argument broke out over a dice game. Takeoff was not involved in the argument. He was simply standing nearby when the confrontation escalated. Someone pulled out a gun and opened fire. Takeoff was struck by gunfire in the head and torso. Takeoff collapsed and died at the scene. He was killed by what were described as stray bullets from a conflict he had nothing to do with. Takeoff was known as the quiet, unproblematic member of Migos, who stayed out of trouble. The rapper who avoided drama was killed in crossfire from someone else's argument. Takeoff died at a Houston bowling alley at age 28, an innocent bystander to violence. Pimp C. On December 4, 2007, 33-year-old Chad Butler, known as Pimp C of UGK, died at the Mondrian Hotel in West Hollywood. Pimp C was a pioneer of Southern hip-hop and helped popularize lean, a mixture of promethazine codeine cough syrup and soda. He also suffered from sleep apnea. On December 4, Pimp C was found dead in his hotel room bed. The medical examiner determined he died from accidental overdose. Pimp C's system contained high levels of promethazine codeine syrup, the same lean he'd helped popularize in hip-hop. The combination of the heavy sedative and his untreated sleep apnea proved fatal. Pimp C simply stopped breathing in his sleep. The rapper who'd promoted lean culture died from the very substance he'd made famous. Pimp C was found dead in bed at a Hollywood hotel. The UGK legend died at 33 from the lean he'd spent years celebrating in his music. Big L. On February 15, 1999, 24-year-old Lamont Coleman, known as Big L, died in Harlem. Big L was in his home neighborhood, just blocks from where he'd grown up. Around 8:30 p.m., a drive-by shooting occurred on 139th Street and Lenox Avenue. Big L was struck 9 times in the face and chest. He died at the scene from his gunshot wounds. The shooting was reportedly a case of mistaken identity, a revenge hit intended for Big L's brother, who was in prison at the time. Big L, widely considered one of the greatest lyricists in hip-hop history, died for a grudge he didn't create. He was killed in Harlem, murdered over beef that had nothing to do with him. The tragedy was compounded by the senselessness of his death. Big L died at 24, shot 9 times on a Harlem street corner. One of rap's most gifted lyricists was killed in a revenge attack meant for someone else. Jam Master Jay. On October 30, 2002, 37-year-old Jason Mizell, known as Jam Master Jay of Run DMC, died in his Queens recording studio. Jam Master Jay ran a recording studio in Jamaica, Queens, where he mentored young artists. He maintained a strict no-weapons policy to keep the studio a safe space. On October 30th, 2 men were buzzed into the studio. Jam Master Jay recognized them and allowed them entry. He was sitting on a sofa playing video games when the men pulled out guns. Jam Master Jay was shot at point-blank range in the head. He died almost instantly from the gunshot wound. The killing occurred inside the safe haven he tried to create for young musicians. Jam Master Jay was murdered by people he knew and trusted enough to let into his studio. The Run DMC pioneer who tried to keep weapons out of his space was shot to death inside it. He was 37 years old. DMX. On April 9, 2021, 50-year-old Earl Simmons, known as DMX, died at White Plains Hospital in New York. On April 2nd, DMX suffered a heart attack at his home in White Plains. The heart attack was triggered by a drug overdose. DMX's brain was deprived of oxygen for nearly 30 minutes during the cardiac arrest. He was rushed to the hospital and placed on life support. Doctors determined he had suffered catastrophic brain damage from oxygen deprivation. DMX remained on life support for a week while his family made decisions. Fans held prayer vigils outside the hospital, barking in tribute to the rapper's signature sound. On April 9th, DMX's family made the decision to remove him from life support. DMX's organs failed and he was pronounced dead. The rapper who'd battled addiction throughout his life finally succumbed to it at age 50. DMX died surrounded by family after a week on life support, following a drug-induced heart attack.